What else could Cyril have done? South Africans praise calm Ramaphosa after White House ambush. Many South Africans are praising President Cyril Ramaphosa's calm demeanor as President Donald Trump's multimedia ambush unfolded in front of the world's press. He pushed back gently whenever he could, but he didn't raise his voice or show anger, displaying his decades of negotiation experience. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think they were caught completely unawares. How on earth could you have planned for that? Said Nkosi, who's a senior research fellow at the Africa-Asia Dialogues think tank. On social media and across South Africa's broadcast outlets, consensus seemed to quickly form that Ramaphosa did the best under the circumstances. He remained calm, collected, and humble in the face of bigotry and lies, posted one user on X. You were a leader today. Went to build, not to fight. Ramaphosa brought his own white billionaire to the meeting, luxury goods magnate Johann Rupert, who's behind brands like Cartier, who told Trump that violent crime affects all races, but his words fell on deaf ears. Rupert even threw tech billionaire Elon Musk, who was also in the room, a bone. We have too many deaths, but it's across the board, Rupert said. It's not only white farmers, it's across the board. We need technological help. We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones. One white South African called Rupert a traitor to his fellow Afrikaners in a social media post. Another prominent white South African, Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen, also tried to convince their Oval Office host that he had been misled. The most dramatic part of the scene was when Trump called for lights to be dimmed and screened a 4.5-minute montage claiming to show evidence of a white genocide. It included far-left opposition leader Julius Malema singing "Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer" as a crowd chanted along. Officially named Dubula Ibunu in the Xhosa language, the song emerged in the 1980s to fight the unjust system of segregation. South African courts have ruled that it doesn't mean a literal call to kill white farmers. The Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in 2024 that any reasonably well-informed person would see it as a historic struggle song, with the performance gestures that go with it as a provocative means of advancing his party's political agenda. Trump confronted Ramaphosa on why he had not arrested Malema for it. Malema, leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters Party, responded in his typical fiery way on expediency. Malema was expelled from Ramaphosa's African National Congress, ANC, party more than a decade ago, and came third in the most recent election. Most of the information that Trump used to try to prove that white genocide is happening in South Africa has repeatedly been disproven. Some South Africans have said that they believe that the information is AfriForum propaganda, referring to a white Afrikaner lobby group criticized as being a white nationalist group. Its chief executive told CNN the group was pleased with how the meeting went. It shows that the South African president and the ANC leadership cannot just simply sweep real problems that we have in the country under the carpet and think they will disappear, Kali Creel said in a voice note. CNN has looked at data from the South African police and has found no evidence of a white genocide. A video played by Trump purported to show thousands of white farmers buried along the side of the road, but Ramaphosa said that he did not recognize the video and that there was no evidence it showed what Trump claimed it displayed. It was the toughest public test yet for Ramaphosa, a skilled dealmaker who led negotiations for Nelson Mandela in talks that ended apartheid. White nationalists. The President of the United States repeated their talking points from the bully pulpit of the White House, giving them the highest profile validation they could have ever dreamed of. The South African delegation expected a confrontational meeting, but nothing could have prepared them for the ambush that awaited them. Africans lost nearly $70 million to denied visas applications to Europe in 2024. When Joel Onyeagbu's application for a Schengen visa to travel to Barcelona was denied late last year, he was surprised but immediately reapplied. He sent in more documents than were required, including bank statements and proof of property ownership in Nigeria. He was rejected again. The information submitted regarding the justification for the purpose and conditions of the intended stay were not reliable.
如果连
Reddit
命都
checklist
丢了，
returned
还
with
要
his
财富干
passport
什么
from
呢
the？ Spanish
最近
consulate
再
in
次发生了
Lagos.
一起中国公民
The
在海外遇害的
32-year-old
不幸
gaming
事件，
consultant said
事
he
发
felt
地位于
humiliated.
中非境内。一座由中国
I
人
had to
经营的
cancel
金矿，
meetings with
大约在
partners
凌
at
晨
the
5点，
conference I
一
was
群武
attending,
装分子
he
持
told
枪闯入
CNN.
工地，在制服了
I
安保人
emailed
员
the
之后，
embassy to
这些丧
understand why I was denied, but it has not been answered to date. Anya Egbus was among the 50,376 short-stay Schengen visa applications rejected in Nigeria last year, nearly half of all submissions, according to newly released data from the European Commission. Applicants worldwide pay a non-refundable visa fee of €90, about $100. So Nigerians alone lost over 4.5 million euros, about $5 million, seeking permission to travel to the 29 European countries that make up the Schengen area. In total, African countries lost 60 million euros, $67.5 million in rejected Schengen visa fees in 2024, analysis from the Lego Collective shows. The London-based research and arts organization has been monitoring data on European short-term visas since 2022 and says Africa is the continent worst affected by the cost of visa rejections. The poorest countries in the world pay the richest countries in the world money for not getting visas. Its founder, Marta Foresti, told CNN. As in 2023, the poorer the country of application, the higher the rejection rates. African countries are disproportionately affected with rejection rates as high as 40 to 50% for countries like Ghana, Senegal, and Nigeria.
这群闯入金矿的武装分子属于中非当地的一支反政府武装，该组织效忠于中非前总统弗朗索瓦·博齐泽，因此不能排除此次袭击事件的背后可能掺杂有复杂的政治原因。至于说如何杜绝此类恶性事件再次发生，分析人士认为可以从3个角度去考虑。
He told CNN. But the embassy said they refused my application because my documents were fake, and they weren't sure I would come back to South Africa, where I am a permanent resident, if I went to France. The 39-year-old regional executive took legal action in French courts and won, forcing the French embassy in Johannesburg to grant his visa and pay him a fine of €1,200. He told an administrative tribunal in the French city of Nantes that the embassy's decision to deny him a visa was tainted by insufficient reasoning. Mabule pointed out that he had provided sufficient guarantees that he would return at the end of his trip to his wife and daughter in South Africa, where he owns a building. After he got the visa, he chose to go to Mauritius instead, as he didn't want to spend his money in France. The Cameroonian's case is unique, as many Africans denied Schengen visas rarely appeal or contest the decisions in court. Like Anya Egbu, the Nigerian gaming consultant, they often reapply, losing more money in the process. Mbule has traveled several times to the UK and other African countries, but was still denied twice for Schengen. The financial cost of rejected visas is just staggering. You can think of them as reverse remittances, money flowing from poor to rich countries, which we never hear about. The Lego Collective's Foresti says. Schengen visa fees increased from 80 to 90 euros in July 2024, making it even more expensive for the world's poorest applicants. But South African management lecturer Sikhumbuzo Maizela said the visa rejection rates for Africans were lower than he expected. The visa vetting process seems to be shaped less by outright prejudice and more by historical patterns of behavior, he told CNN via email. Western countries have had instances where visa holders overstayed or violated terms, and this has influenced how future applications are scrutinized.